I know for Tanith Lee that she considered her husband and partner, John Kane, also her partner in her creative process. Um, they would discuss story ideas. He would actually suggest story ideas. He would create artwork that would inspire her. They both had a visual arts background. So one, um, to start with you for a little bit in your work, um, do you have the same sort of connection to other people when you're doing your fiction or any of your other writing, I suppose?
I feel a lot of connection. I feel that all my networks, my students, my colleagues, all the authors, many of them long dead or far distant, that I read or have read. I mean, all this is such an important part of uh, the idea generating process, of the validation process, of the encouragement, of the inspiration. Um, and uh, and I tell this to my students, even though this time of year they probably don't believe me because they're sort of tired of me and they wish I would I would go away and leave them alone these last 5 weeks of the semester. But I always tell them that I learn a lot more from them than they learn from me. And with Tanith Lee, whereas there are so many writers of her generation that I have had the chance to meet and get to know and talk to and learn from and become friends with and certainly mentees with. I've been very lucky in that respect. But she was not one of them. She mostly up to the UK. And when I was starting in the field in the 90s, I was and am very seldom in Europe. I had a fleeting encounter with her at a World Con. I believe it was the Baltimore World Con, where I was on the ballot a couple of times and I was completely new. Nobody had heard of me. And two of the few people who had heard of me were Charles Sheffield and Nancy Kress, who were together at the time. Nancy had been my week one Clarion West instructor. And in my memory, I was standing in a hallway talking to Charles, who was in full pirate regalia for the his Toastmaster gig that night, and complete with the makeup and a false mole in Regency fashion, the pigtails, the knee breeches, everything.
Why
He
the
looked
false
great.
mole?
I don't I just, why not? And so I was standing there talking to him, and we looked down the hall, and here came Nancy Kress, Tanith Lee, and Esther Friesner, all in full Regency costume with the bustles and the fabrics trailing behind them, and they were bearing down on us, the three of them, uh, and and uh, Charles and I stopped whatever we were saying, and Charles said, "Ah, the weird sisters," and then the three of them swarmed around us, and suddenly Charles and I, we were no longer in charge of anything. And so they were all talking at once and telling us what we were to do next and where we were supposed to be and this and that. And they were fussing over Charles and fussing over me. And I thought, well, okay, this is a good place to be. This field is the place where people you've been reading for years just sort of come up to you in full cosplay mode and begin like fixing your hair and trying to, help you look a little bit more presentable. But that really was just about our only actual encounter, I think. But yes, I think the networking, the influence, the inspiration of this morass of people we're with including people from the 19th century, including, I know one young writer I was talking to who is uh, hugely influenced by Catherine L. Moore, and their lives did not overlap at all. But C.L. Moore is as much a presence for her as anybody. And Tanith was certainly a big presence for me, reading all those science fiction, fantasy, and horror anthologies in the 70s and 80s, because I started with Stephen King and Ray Bradbury. It was hard to stop the reading.
Well, I have a sense from the bookshelves behind you that that is very much continued on.